Hello, it's time for the October Tarot. And although I had some requests for a deeper look at Asia and Taiwan, I really felt that I just had to focus on the US this month in order to gather whatever insight would help us through the rest of the year. Things are quite stressful, and there's a lot of anger here. Anger is change energy that hasn't been able to find an outlet, and it's not good for it to build up to explosive levels. So that was the focus, really, of the first two questions, things happening here in the US. As usual, then I asked for advice from both the plant and the animal kingdom and got cards of massive, massive significance. In total, the cards pulled this month are extremely powerful, shockingly so, and very direct. So we are truly at a turning point, maybe the first of many turning points. So let's begin. The questions asked were, number one, the Deagle report said that almost 70% of the US population would be gone in 2025. It's now October of 2025, and most of us are still here. So how do we make sure that we all survive and thrive through the rest of the year and the rest of the decade? Question number two. Over the last 5 years, there has been chaos and regime change in 28 countries in Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, and South America. And some of them had regime change twice. So there's really been 30 regime changes. And I got that data from Neil McCoy Ward. So what if the trend is toward regime change and collapse of parliaments and resignations and all kinds of things, what is the future of the US government? And then number three, what advice does the animal kingdom have for the US and Europe in October? And number four, what advice does the plant kingdom have for the US and Europe in October? And the cards drawn were number one, the Magician, which is number one in the major arcana. Major arcana means major change, major work, major insights and shifts, stuff like that. Second card was the Judgment card. Number 20, also in the major arcana. Third was the Jaguar. Wow. Number 51 in the animal medicine deck. And the fourth was Cannabis. Oh, empty. Cannabis, number 31 in the Herbal Astrology deck. So let's look at our questions in these cards. Question number one, the Deagle report said that almost 70% of the US population would be gone in 2025. It's now October of 2025, and most of us are still here. How do we make sure that we all survive and thrive through the rest of the year and the rest of the decade? We need all that consciousness. We need it because we need that consciousness and those people to build a new world. Anyway, with such a serious question being asked, I was really kind of surprised, delighted, and relieved to see that the card drawn was the Magician, number one in the major arcana. This card holds so many messages that it's difficult to cover them all. Foremost is the message that every single person is special and holds great power within them, power that is to be used to achieve something that no one else has ever managed to do before. In other words, everyone is unique and has a unique gift. And that gift has to be given. So this card tells us bluntly that we can do magical things and we will witness miracles. Given the dramas and the traumas of the last 5 or 6 years, I think it would be kind of nice to see a few miracles. In looking at the card, we see a figure standing with his left arm pointing downward toward the earth and his right arm pointing up toward the sky. This symbolizes the fact that the human body is between earth and sky and is the bridge of magic that connects the realm of what we wish for to the realm of reality. We are the pathway for possibilities to become realities. If what we want is for people to survive and thrive through the coming months and years, we must work our magic to make that happen. In his right hand, the magician holds a wand with 2 ends. And I have a little wand here that somebody made for me and gave me years ago. And you can see it's only got 1 power end. But the wand that is in the hand of the magician has 2 ends, each one shaped as if to be the effective working end, able to direct power. This represents diversity in oneness, with the wand itself representing the oneness. 1 wand, 2 ends. It's meant to remind us also that things can be separated and then recombined in new and unique ways. So might this be a message to us that our strength is our diversity if, that's a big if we can honor and support the uniqueness and gifts of one another? Does it hint that we need not be afraid if the U.S. breaks or separates a little, because we can always recombine in new ways and still celebrate our freedom, our land, and our way of life? The magician wears a red robe of passion and will, characteristics that are needed to make magic happen. You got to have to want something, and you got to have the will to make it happen. That's the magic. Underneath that red robe, he wears a white tunic symbolizing a clean slate, a new beginning, and sometimes a clear achievement that affects everyone. Are we going to have a new beginning? A clean slate? He also has like a girdle or a belt around his waist made of a serpent. It's called a serpentine girdle. And that symbolizes the need to shed what is no longer working or wanted, often because it has involved manipulation or poison of some kind. It's kind of a warning against manipulation and poison. In front of the magician is a table, and on the table we see a cup, a sword, a wand, and a pentacle, each representing one aspect of life. The table itself symbolizes the workbench of daily living. Workbenches represent the altar of life, the altar upon which we spend or sacrifice our time, our energy, our very being. It represents the career we pursue, the reality we create, and the challenges, of course, that we must face. So most importantly, the table, the workbench table, symbolizes the state of knowledge and tradition that we've been taught and from which we draw ideas create our habits, shape our lives, and so on. The table holds the store of all we know and all we are. And what is that store of knowledge? It's composed of the cup of emotion, the sword of the intellect, the wand of willpower in action, and the pentacle of material tools to create physical results. In other words, the magic we want to create must be a combination of feeling our way along, that's the emotions, feeling our way along, sometimes by the seat of our pants, using our heads to see clearly what is happening and make decisions, drawing on our willpower to stay the course and yet remain flexible, and using all of these abilities to shape, assess, reshape the reality that emerges until it looks and feels and acts like the vision we had in our minds and in our hearts. Over the head of the magician, there's an infinity symbol. And that symbol floating there is a stark reminder that life is an endless roller coaster. Choo, 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 choo. Yeah, it's a roller coaster. And we need to maintain balance, good health, and high energy as we learn to ride those ups and downs and sharp turns that life presents. We've all heard the many predictions of this or that difficulty coming at us, and this is a message that may be sharply relevant as we move to the end of 2025. The magician stands in a garden of roses and lilies, red roses, white lilies, and those flowers symbolize the promise of success and happiness, as well as a new life that is natural, beautiful, and offers an ease that we have not known. I'm like, bring it on. Oh my. The red roses represent love or the return of love. Yeah. And the white lilies symbolize starting anew with wisdom and a natural beauty and ease in life. Together, the roses and the lilies represent a transformation of earth and hint at healing for all people, plants, animals, soil, water, and sky. This is a card that encourages the development of each individual with a goal of uncovering the potential and releasing the genius in each one of us. It says, believe in yourself, become one with your true self, make use of the opportunities that come your way. It's a card that calls for investment in new and amazing solutions and for acceptance of new information that changes everything. So we probably have some things that are coming that we're going to discover or hear that will change our perception of the U.S. government. There's a warning from the magician that says to be careful of liars, fakes, and cunning tricksters who seek to take advantage of the unwary, to steal your money by feigning innocence of wrongdoing. Oh, I didn't know that that was going to happen, or I didn't know anything about that. Yeah. Or people pretending to be of service. And they're really all about service to self. This card warns us we must stay on our path personally and collectively, as a nation and as a planet, if we want to avoid the pitfalls and karma of bad choices. So what is your personal path? Have you even given that a thought since you were 18 years old? What is our collective path as people of the U.S.? Didn't it have something to do with freedom, self-governance, and evolution to more advanced states of being and wisdom? The closing message of the magician is that we can turn our world into a beautiful garden of life if we're willing to use our magic. And what is that magic? It's that combination of powerful emotion, clear intellect, strategic and well-timed action, and knowing what we want and don't want. Since the magician is closely aligned with Mercury, this tells us that we must communicate our magic to one another, because in this way, inspiration is communicated and shared by all, bringing the whole collective into better alignment. So key words for the magician are making a difference, skill, diplomacy, subtlety, snares of enemies, cunning, self-confidence, potential, maturity, magus, daily goodness, greatness, power, miracles, and achievement. Wow. Okay. So let's all stick together and pay attention over the rest of the year. We need everybody. Question number 2. Over the last 5 years, there has been chaos and regime change in 28 countries in Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, and South America, and a couple of them had regime change twice. So what is the future of the U.S. government? Although I was very hesitant to ask another question that was solely focused on the U.S., I felt it was really important to get some idea of our future, because America has been such a powerful presence in the world for such a long time, and what we do and what happens to us affects so many other people. The card drawn here was the Judgment card. Wow. That says so much. This is number 20 in the major arcana. When I was shuffling the deck and holding the question about the future of the U.S., I was hoping to pull something encouraging and positive, something that indicated where we could go. Maybe a small tweak or shift that would be helpful as we move through the coming weeks. And when I saw the Judgment card, I knew immediately that we were headed toward a big shift, a big tweak, so to speak, a life and death decision point. This is a card of lawsuits, new outcomes, decisions, and sentencing. So let's be aware that whatever we sentence others to, we sentence ourselves to as well. This card is often a wake-up call and is ruled by Pluto and Scorpio. Ouch. And both of these are messengers of elimination, death, transformation, and rebirth. Think about that in relation to our question regarding the future of the U.S. government. Elimination, death, transformation, rebirth. The Judgment card shows a large angel with blonde hair and red wings emerging from the clouds, blowing a trumpet and displaying a flag, or like a banner, showing a reddish-orange cross on a white background. The angel is a messenger of goodness and a reminder that higher consciousness is what is needed. The large red wings that extend off the sides of the card, you can't see the tips of those wings, encourage us to move toward transformation, or they tell us that transformation is coming and it'll have effects we did not anticipate or did not imagine. They're off the edges of our field of imagination. So the emergence from the clouds says that something is coming that will help clear confusion and cloudy thinking. And that blonde hair backs this up because blonde hair represents thoughts that are lighthearted, light-minded, of the light, and clear in terms of compassion, love, truth, etc. The trumpet symbolizes a call to wake up, a call to action that moves toward alignment with love, compassion, and higher consciousness. There are 7 lines of energy like coming out of the end of that trumpet, and this indicates that the call or the draw to something new will be heard by people from many different walks of life, different religions, different lifestyles, different nationalities. The trumpet represents something that will awaken people from their slumbering ways. A trumpet can also indicate the end of a day or end of an era. And this says that our current government structures may come to an end and a new day is coming. The flag or banner with the reddish-orange cross on it symbolizes an intersection of some kind that is characterized by great passion. That's the reddish color. And it will affect businesses or the business of life. That's the orange color. This hints that the business world specifically and how we live are at a crossroads. Intersections always indicate a need for wise, alert, and measured crossing to something new. That's the white banner, that new. The white banner it symbolizes newness, with white representing a clean slate, starting fresh. Intersections also represent the coming together or coalescing and connecting of forces from every direction, north, south, east, and west. And since our question is about the future of the U.S. government, this points to either a perfect storm of forces affecting the government or the coming together of the people of the U.S. in a way that has a powerful effect on the government. Below the angel, a half dozen naked figures are standing in caskets, looking up, raising their arms in a manner that could be interpreted as greeting, farewell, or perhaps reconciliation. The nakedness symbolizes everything being out in the open. Perhaps this points to a release of secrets or of truths or feelings and attitudes toward government that can no longer be hidden. The caskets that the naked figures are standing in tell us several things. First, they indicate that people were either dead to what was happening, or they believed the U.S. government was dead, or that they are dead to the current form of government, and instead of the people being buried, the government may be buried. Caskets are places where people lay down and are no longer alive and moving. Caskets symbolize the surrender of life. But in the judgment card, suddenly they're all standing up. Men, women, and children alike, standing up in immediate response to a blast of something that has awakened them dramatically. The caskets appear to be floating on the water, and this indicates a great deal of emotion and unsteadiness in life. Water is not something you can stand or walk upon. In order to avoid sinking into the depths, support is needed in the form of a boat, maybe a dock, a raft, or something of that nature. Since we have caskets here as the only form of support, this tells us that those taking a stand recognize that there are only two alternatives: surrender your life and lay down in your casket, or stand up and respond to something calling to you. Wow. The Judgment card is a card of drawing the line, kind of like a red line in the sand sort of thing. It represents, and this is a quote, facing strong forces and the need to realize that strong forces are yours to wield. Let me say that again. The Judgment card is a card of drawing the line, and it represents facing strong forces and the need to realize that strong forces are yours to wield. This may be a reminder that the government belongs to us, not the other way around. This card indicates that it's now Judgment Day for the U.S. government, and yet part of the message is that blame will be useless. There are many mountain peaks in the background symbolizing many problems that will have to be faced. And the sky is light blue, which calls for clarity and a warning to avoid getting tangled in the past. Judgment calls for an assortment of mature perspectives and practices. And these perspectives and practices include deliverance, a need for frankness, confession, reconciliation, appropriate punishments, fairness, open-mindedness, deliberation, forgiveness, resolution, and truth, all with an eye kept firmly on transformation and learning. The true goal of Judgment is rebirth and a better quality of life. The big warning with this card is to learn to forgive without forgetting and to let go of grudges and vengeance. So you have to remember but not hold a grudge. If you think about your life and why you just had to come here at this particular moment in history when everything is crude, violent, and falling apart, it may be because you wanted to make peace with the fact that this time and place needed an overhaul, a rebirth. And you thought it might be a good time to learn true forgiveness, which is what was just pointed out. Forgive without forgetting and without hanging on to grudges, anger, or vengeance. The promise of this card is actually the rebirth and the chance to return to paradise, to build something new, like a new world. It's a card of recognizing that people have been through an ordeal, and in the process, they have been changed, transformed. There's no going back. So the question is, what does going forward look like? Since our question is about the future of the U.S. government, that is the challenge. What does the government look like going forward? The Judgment card is number 20, which is ruled by the number 2. 2 is a number of conflict and crossroads. However, the result of dealing with whatever situation arises is wisdom, which is often hard-won and leads to a new season of life. So keywords for the Judgment card are change of position, lawsuit, loss, weakness, deliberation, renewal, rebirth, near-death experience, awakening, new existence, fairness, confession, consequences, and departure. Question number 3. What advice does the animal kingdom have for the U.S. and Europe in October? And wow, this question brought the jaguar. Number 51 in the animal medicine deck. Can I say wow again? We could probably take up the entire tarot with just the significance of this one animal. The jaguar is the symbol across many cultures of reclaiming one's power, of imminent awakening and imminent rebirth. Were we just talking about awakening and rebirth with the judgment card? Yeah, we were. Big cats, whether tigers, lions, or panthers, are the symbol of consciousness. The jaguar belongs to a family of big cats that are generally referred to as panthers, and that includes leopards, jaguars, and black panthers. That group is considered panthers. The jaguar is the most powerful and the most lethal. This is the consciousness of the mother defending her young with fierce attention and watchfulness. Fierce defense. Big cats also symbolize the awakening of consciousness after a period of suffering and darkness. Have we had that? I think so. This awakening, whether in individuals, cultures, or countries, often brings out many heroes who have faced their own inner demons and overcome them. These heroes see what many are afraid to look at in the reality around them, and then they help lead or guide others to their own higher potential in new dimensions of life. The jaguar is a symbol of intense sensuousness and sexuality. Intense sensuousness and sexuality. When jaguar appears, the message is that something involving sexual attitudes and behaviors must be dealt with. Could this be pointing to the great tragedy of the way sexuality has been used to shame and control, when it's really the doorway to healing and transformation via the awakening of Kundalini? Could jaguar be showing up now because it's time to deal with sexual slavery, the ongoing disappearance of children, and the horror stories we hear about what is going on behind the curtains of power? Ooh. The hero's journey is something you may have heard about, and the jaguar is the symbol of this very challenging journey into the deep self. Jaguar encourages us to take up the hero's quest, acknowledge the forces of divinity within, and begin moving away from opinion poles and poles of existence to a new life without polarization or barriers. In other words, you end up open. Consciousness is open. It urges us to open up to the unconscious side of ourselves and begin to use the abilities that were closed down through education, social pressures, legal rules, and other such curbs on our natural abilities. Jaguar demands that after years of fear, wandering around, plundering, madness, and destruction, we realize we need to overcome some negative tendencies, stop inflicting suffering on ourselves, and begin the work of transforming ourselves into the gods and goddesses we are designed to become. Jaguar is also the symbol of alternate realities and timelines. It encourages us to open to these realities as a way of resolving the sexual issues we face, the abuses of power we have endured, and to take advantage of a, quote, coming time of opportunity to be reborn. That's the message of Jaguar. Let me say it again. It encourages us to open to these alternate realities as a way of resolving the sexual issues we face, the abuses of power we have endured, and to take advantage of a coming time of opportunity to be reborn. Wow. The warnings of Jaguar are to stop hiding our flaws in the back of the closet and stop painting over the problems we face, because the price of this hiding and painting over is the loss of what we love the most. Is that our country? Is it our freedom? Our land? Think about that. The lessons of this very powerful animal are to stand in our integrity, live with impeccable behavior, and maintain our dignity. And the tasks? Jaguar has tasks. They are enormous. We are to correct any need to control others and abuses of power and manipulation, use moral judgment, avoid dishonesty, watch out for hidden agendas, steer clear of envy and greed, and stop thinking and acting like victims. Like I said when I pulled this card, oh, wow. Okay, question number 4. What advice does the plant kingdom have for the US and Europe in October? And as I mentioned at the beginning of the reading, the cards pulled this month were incredibly powerful cards. And that includes the message from the plant world, which was from cannabis. All I could say when I saw this was OMG. After the Magician, the Judgment card, and Jaguar, now this, cannabis. Cannabis might be the oldest plant in use on our planet, and it dates back to 8,000 BC in Taiwan. That's a while ago. The message of cannabis is detach, reach for freedom. Cannabis is ruled by Saturn and Neptune, 2 planets that I think might be conjunct this month. Saturn has everything to do with authority, government structures and institutions, the cycles of time, and lessons around boundaries. Have governments overstepped their boundaries a little lately? Yeah, I think so. The planet Saturn is also strongly karmic. Make a bad choice, and you will definitely feel the impact sooner or later. And often it's sooner. Neptune is all about intuition, emotions, change, and transformation. When Saturn and Neptune come together, intuitions and emotions about government authority and boundaries can cause dramatic changes. And the advice from cannabis is let it happen, let go, detach. In ancient days, cannabis was considered to be a warrior plant and a symbol of military strength because it was given to soldiers before going into battle in order to calm their fears of death and expand their circle of consciousness so they would fight better. This plant has been cultivated for thousands of years for everything from fabric and rope to healing and spiritual development. It is considered to be a bridge between the physical world, our world, and the many other worlds that surround us, 2 of which are the world of nature and the world of the ancestors who have already passed. At its core, cannabis represents a connection to nature, a sense of spirituality, and a way to expand one's consciousness. When cannabis shows up, it is a symbol of release from the inner numbness and refusal to feel what we are feeling. Why do we hide our feelings? Well, because we're afraid of how those feelings might be expressed in the world, and no one wants to get in trouble. But what if there already is trouble? Hiding feelings makes it worse and leads to tragic consequences. This plant tells us it is time to stop neglecting our truth, time to start looking for a way out, time to release ourselves from fear of the future. It encourages us to do something we love, and in so doing, end the mental and emotional barriers we have set up for ourselves. Cannabis also says it's time for a release from stress. It's time for healing and freedom, freedom from pain, from abusive and inflammatory situations, from overbearing authority, and other things of that sort. This plant brings an invitation to enter a more relaxed state of body and mind, and encourages us to seriously reconnect with nature in all of its forms: plants, fresh air, water, soil and sand, forests, and all of the creatures we live with on this planet. So that's it for this tarot. Let's summarize the messages we've received. Question number 1, the Deagle report said that almost 70% of the U.S. population would be gone in 2025. And here we are in October of 2025. Most of us are still here. How do we make sure we all survive and thrive through the rest of the year and the rest of the decade? And the card drawn here was the Magician, a card that tells us quite directly it's time to use our magic to survive and thrive, and that this includes using everything we are and everything we've got. This includes emotion to feel our way along, intellect to see clearly and think strategically, willpower to stay the course yet remain flexible, and physical tools and structures to shape, assess, and reshape the reality until it looks, feels, and acts like something we want. The Magician warns against fakes, liars, and tricksters who manipulate, steal our money, and pretend to be of service. The Magician reminds us that life is a roller coaster, and we need to maintain balance, good health, and high energy so we can navigate the ups and downs. Question number 2 was, over the last 5 years, there has been chaos and regime change in 28 countries in Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, and South America. A couple of them with regime change twice. So there's really been 30 regime changes. What is the future of the U.S. government? And the card drawn here was the Judgment card, another major arcana card. This is a card of lawsuits, new outcomes, decisions, and sentencing. What we decide will sentence us as well as government. This card is often a wake-up call ruled by Pluto and Scorpio, and both of those planets are messengers of elimination, death, transformation, and rebirth. Wow. The Judgment card represents a massive wake-up due to something blasting us, blasting in our ears, something we cannot deny. It calls those who are asleep and even the dead to wake up and stand up or surrender their lives. This card heralds a time when nothing is hidden, secrets are revealed, and truths become known. And our task? It will be to forgive without forgetting, yet without holding grudges, anger, or wanting vengeance. It's a big task. Question number 3, what advice does the animal kingdom have for the U.S. and Europe in October? And I got the jaguar. Number 51 brings advice from the animal kingdom this month, and it's some pretty powerful, straightforward advice. The jaguar is the symbol of consciousness. It's the symbol of a mother's consciousness, defending her young with fierce attention and watchfulness, ferocious defensiveness. Jaguar is also the symbol of sensuousness and sexuality. And when you put the concept of a mother defending her young together with a problem around sexuality, it suggests a terrible situation that will have to be faced. In addition to this situation, the jaguar is a symbol of the hero's journey and of alternate realities that will open before us. Putting those two symbols together suggests that we are on a journey toward an alternate reality, and this will require us to gather great courage in order to move forward. This card, like the Judgment card, is a symbol of rebirth. If we can muster our power and move away from thinking and acting like victims. And question number 4, what advice does the plant kingdom have for the U.S. and Europe in October? And as I mentioned at the beginning, all of this month's cards are incredibly powerful. And the message from the plant kingdom is no exception. The card pulled was cannabis, a plant with ancient roots, whose main message is detach, reach for freedom. Cannabis is a symbol of our connection to nature, a symbol of spirituality, and a way to expand one's consciousness. When cannabis shows up, it tells us it's time to release ourselves from the inner numbness of helplessness and our refusal to feel what we're feeling. This card warns that we must deal with overbearing authority, abusive government structures and institutions, the cycles of time, and lessons around boundaries. It hints that we are caught in karma. Karma is a result of a bad decision or bad series of choices. And to fix the situation, new choices must be made. Cannabis symbolizes healing and says it's time for release from stress by letting go of what is not working. So that's it for the month of October. All of the cards point to a powerful moment of some kind of transformation, waking up, and a need to use our power. So I can see why last month's advice for Prairie Dog was to stop pushing and to replenish our energy so we would be ready for what comes next. Because all of this month's messages say that what is coming next is a need to use our power, our magic, to stand up, to let go, and to move steadily toward rebirth. Giving birth is big work. It's messy, but it's sure worth it. So thank you for listening and have a great month.